Today, we're diving into the absolute roller coaster story of Threads. You know, Meta's huge, controversial, and honestly, surprisingly tough challenger to what we all used to call Twitter. But let's just start with a wild question. What if you built the fastest growing app in the history of the world, and then, almost overnight, you watched 80% of your users just disappear? That's not a hypothetical, that is the actual wild story of Threads. All right, so to really get this, we have to rewind. Let's go back to the very beginning, to the perfect storm of events that made a Twitter killer feel not just like a good idea, but an urgent one. You know, this timeline pretty much says it all. It kicks off in late 2022. Chaos was breaking out over at Twitter right after Elon Musk took over. Advertisers were getting jumpy, users were looking for an exit, and Meta, well, they smelled blood in the water. By November, they were already talking about a new app, and by January, Project 92 was a go. And listen to how fast they moved. We're talking a team of just 56 people. For a giant company like Meta, that is tiny. And they built this entire thing from the ground up in just 5 months. 5 months. It was a mad dash to jump on Twitter's problems. So that crazy sprint, it led right into our next chapter. A launch so big, it literally broke every record in the book. Seriously, these first numbers are just mind-blowing. The secret sauce, of course, was plugging it right into Instagram's massive user base. And boom, 2 million signups in 2 hours. Nobody had ever seen anything move that fast. And it didn't stop. By the end of the very first day, 30 million users. To give you some perspective, remember how big a deal ChatGPT was? Threads just left it in the dust. The acceleration was just insane. 5 days, that's all it took, to blow past the 100 million user mark. 100 million. It cemented its place as the fastest growing app ever. The momentum just felt unstoppable. So you can just imagine the vibe inside Meta, right? They were flying high. High enough that Mark Zuckerberg, who hadn't touched his own Twitter account in over a decade, logged back in to post one single thing, that classic Spider-Man pointing at Spider-Man meme. It was a direct, pretty hilarious jab at his new rival. But of course, not everyone was celebrating. Over at Twitter headquarters, yeah, they were not happy. Their lawyers immediately fired off a letter threatening to sue, basically accusing Meta of poaching their former employees to steal trade secrets and build a copycat app. Meta just flatly denied it, but oh yeah, the fight was on. And then the rocket ship just ran out of fuel. Almost as fast as it went up, it started to come crashing down. And that brings us to this dramatic turn in the story, the great user exodus. And when I say dramatic, I mean dramatic. Just look at this chart. Daily active users on Android, they fell off a cliff. From a peak of almost 50 million in July, it just cratered to about 10 million by August. That's a nearly 80% drop in a single month. All that hype, poof, gone. So what happened? Why did everybody leave? Well, the truth is, the app just wasn't ready. It felt empty. It was missing the basics, you know? No trending topics, no DMs, not even a proper website at the start. But the real killer? That absolutely bizarre rule where to delete Threads, you had to delete your entire Instagram account. I mean, who would agree to that? So people just stopped using it. The average time folks spent on the app plunged from over 20 minutes down to less than 3. Now, a lot of companies might have just pulled the plug right there, but Meta didn't. Instead, they rolled up their sleeves and started the long, slow process of actually fixing the thing. And that brings us to our next chapter, the methodical work of rebuilding the entire platform. And their comeback plan was pretty straightforward. Listen to what people were complaining about and fix it. So they added a chronological following feed, they built a full web version, and they finally fixed that crazy account deletion policy. After months of waiting, they launched in the massive EU market. But their most ambitious move? They started to integrate with this thing called the Fediverse. Okay, so Fediverse, what the heck is that? Think of it like this. It's a bunch of different independent social media sites that can all talk to each other. The best analogy is just email. You can have a Gmail account, I can have a Yahoo account, and we can still send messages back and forth no problem. ActivityPub is the language that lets all these different social sites do the same thing. Now, Meta, this giant corporation wading into this independent ecosystem, was deeply controversial. A ton of the people running Fediverse servers immediately signed something called a Fedi Pact, pledging to block threads. They were worried Meta would just pull its classic embrace, extend, and extinguish move and take over. But on the other side, people argued that blocking threads would just isolate the smaller guys. It's a real culture clash, big tech versus the open internet ideal. So, after all of that, the explosive launch, the spectacular crash, and the slow, painstaking rebuild, where does that leave Threads today? What even is this thing now? Well, slowly but surely, it looks like all that rebuilding is actually working. As you can see, the monthly active users are on a steady climb, hitting 275 million. It's a marathon, not a sprint this time, but that's undeniable, consistent growth.
But, and this is a big but, it is not all smooth sailing. Threads is now grappling with the same huge headaches that every other major social platform has to deal with. It still gets heavy criticism for its data collection policies, it's been called out for not properly labeling state-sponsored propaganda, and some researchers say it's becoming a home for certain conspiracy theories, which just highlights that universal, incredibly difficult problem of content moderation. So, here we are. Threads stared into the abyss, and it actually survived. It's clawing its way back. But the fundamental question is still hanging in the air. What is its ultimate destiny? Is it still the Twitter killer it was hyped up to be? Is it going to be a friendly corporate neighbor in the decentralized Fediverse? Or is it slowly evolving into something else entirely? The truth is, the next chapter in this social media saga is still unwritten.